Prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. When God's servants speak forth, the wise listen. Deuteronomy 18:22. God is still saying something.
Emmanuel, this is Edward reporting for Emmanuel TV. God is still saying something. On January the 17th, 2010, among the list of prophecies that Prophet T.B. Joshua gave for the year was one concerning something that he saw in the sky that would have negative effects. These were his words.
I'm seeing in the sky something that will cause discussion among scientists and nations, but this thing will have negative effects.
2 weeks later, on Sunday the 31st of January 2010, Prophet T.B. Joshua prophesied further about what he had seen in the sky, calling it another natural disaster.
This other natural disaster, can we call it snow? And the thing will be falling like whitish thing, and it will stop the whole system. This will come from the hill. It's a strange thing.
A few months later, on Sunday the 11th of April 2010, the prophet spoke in more detail about the prophecy, specifically mentioning that on Thursday we should fast and pray for nations around the world.
On Thursday, fast and pray for the nations, countries around the world on Thursday. Take your time to do that. As you do that, the Lord will also do for you in Jesus' name.
On Thursday, the 15th of April 2010, the very day mentioned by Prophet T.B. Joshua, a massive cloud of volcanic ash following a volcanic eruption in Iceland drifted into European airspace, grounding all flights and leaving tens of thousands of passengers stranded across Europe, affecting businesses worldwide. Aviation officials called it the largest scale closure of British airspace ever. Let's watch the breaking news.
I want to update you now on our breaking news story that we're following here on CNN. Air travel is disrupted worldwide. That's as a result of volcanic ash, which is coming from a volcano there in Iceland. It's been pumped into the atmosphere, and clouds of ash towards Scandinavia and Western Europe are causing huge delays for air traffic. It's forecast to spread far and wide, and that's causing the cancellation, delay and detour of thousands of flights around the globe. We want to remind you here that we're going to continue to follow this story here on CNN. The brief is next. They're going to continue to monitor what's happening there in Iceland as that volcano spews that volcanic ash that is causing huge travel delays, huge air traffic delays across Europe. Jonathan Mann will be here with that. You're now up to the minute at the international desk. I'm Aisha to say, don't go away. Stay with CNN. We have this breaking news covered for you.
Air travel's being disrupted or cancelled altogether for tens of thousands of people all over Europe. The knock-on effect means that flights into Europe are also being hit from as far afield as the US and the Far East. The problem is ash from a volcanic eruption in Iceland, and in an unprecedented move, Britain has closed its entire airspace to all but emergency traffic until at least Friday morning. As the ash spread south and east, flights have been halted at airports in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Norway and northern Sweden. The government in Stockholm has said Swedish airspace will close by 20 hours GMT. The German government is considering closing its airspace. After the attacks of 9/11 in America, transatlantic flights were suspended and the airspace over London was closed. But this is the first time all flights into and out of the UK have been grounded.
It was on a Thursday, the exact day of the week Prophet T.B. Joshua mentioned that we should pray and fast for nations around the world. Thursday, the 15th of April 2010. News hit world media that clouds of volcanic ash spewed into the air over the British Isles and Europe. A volcanic eruption which occurred in Iceland spewed black smoke and white steam into the air. The ash plume, which rose to between 20,000 feet and 36,000 feet, lay above the Atlantic Ocean, close to the flight paths for most routes from the US East Coast to Europe. The whole of British airspace was affected, causing an unprecedented closure of airports and cancellation of flights. Reports state that the airline industry is losing an estimated $200 million a day, and delays and cancellations are expected to last at least through the weekend.
I'm seeing in the sky something that will cause discussion among scientists and nations. But this thing will have negative effects.
Well, the thousands of flights in the UK and all over Europe have been cancelled because of warnings that tiny particles of rock, glass and sand contained within the ash could damage aircraft engines. Here's the BBC's environment correspondent David Shookman.
The giant plume billowing into the skies above Iceland. This towering column of ash is what's grounding flights nearly 1,000 miles away in Britain. Researchers fly as close as they can. This is a view through the cloud into the heart of the eruption. Molten rock surging through a glacier. The combination of fire and ice generating the dense cloud. Cascades of lava are flowing down the sides of the volcano. What's special about this volcano is that the eruption is blasting through a thick layer of ice, and the result, the ash contains tiny particles of glass, the worst thing for jet engines.
Instead of the new rock coming up, the new molten rock coming up and then just flowing down as a quiet lava flow, it's coming up and interacting with the ice cap that's on the top of this volcano. It's a 200-metre thick ice cap, and this is being gradually melted by the new hot rock that's coming up. And as the new hot rock comes up and interacts with this ice cap, the rock is exploding and forming tiny fragments, and this is the ash that's coming out in the plume.
Volcanoes, of course, erupt all the time, and pilots are regularly warned to avoid these plumes of ash. But this one not only includes lots of those glass particles, it also just happens to be blowing south, and there's no sign of the eruption slowing down.
We can speak now to Gina Christie, who lives in the small Icelandic town of Kolsvöllur, that is near the volcano. What's it like just there, Gina?
There was a smaller flood earlier this afternoon, about 3 o'clock.
So does that mean it's still erupting? Is that why it's cloudy and dark over there?
Oh, very much so. I don't think it's going to stop erupting for quite a while.
And in terms of the impact, some people say, of course, you're getting these floods because you're very close to a glacier there and the glacier is melting. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, basically the volcano is erupting under the glacier, and as it's sort of coming up, it's, you know, trying to get through, and it's melting all of the glacier, which is why there's so much problem for the locals here, because when you have a glacial flood, it's a massive amount of water coming in a very quick space of time. And so that's why they've had to evacuate people on and off as soon as they realize that, you know, the floods are coming down, because you don't have a lot of time to get out of the way. And so you're getting big chunks of ice and a lot of ash and mud coming down the flood valleys there.
We've been hearing over here that one possibility and one concern for the authorities is that this eruption could actually start off another volcanic event in a volcano called Katla. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a very real possibility, and it's something that they have always been aware of, because apparently it's kind of overdue for eruption.
The thing that Prophet T.B. Joshua had seen in the sky in the vision God had shown him was a cloud of volcanic ash, which truly caused negative effects in the whole of Europe and indeed worldwide. The negative effects of the disaster involving ash were widespread. Thousands of flights were cancelled, stranding tens of thousands of passengers, and officials said it was not clear when it would be safe enough to fly again. An aviation expert said it was the first time in living memory that an ash cloud had affected some of the most congested airspace in the world, while a scientist in Iceland said the ejection of volcanic ash and therefore disruptions in air travel could continue for days or even weeks. The volcano's smoke and ash poses a threat to aircraft because it can affect visibility, and microscopic debris can get sucked into airplane engines and can cause them to shut down. Apart from the threat to aircraft and machinery, the United Nations Health Agency, the World Health Organization, has issued a warning of health risks related